All right, what's the deal? It's your boy, Professor G. It is Maryland Live, the post-game version. I'm riding a little solo because my boy Chuck D, as you all know him, is working behind the scenes right now to make sure that we get the videos to accompany what was a tremendous performance today. I mean, if you had Maryland and plus 17, your pocketbook is feeling really, really good right now. I mean, this was as impressive a performance as I've seen by a Maryland team in decades. First off, you end the curse of Wisconsin. Locksley had gone 0-4 in four chances against the Badgers. And today, they just look like, frankly, the better team. And I made some notes when I was watching this game. And one of the things that really stood out to me, and I said it, and if you can go back and check the archives on the show, I said it at the beginning. Maryland now has the look of a Big Ten team. They're physical, fast, and athletic. And they were much bigger, more athletic, and ultimately more powerful. I've never seen a Wisconsin team be basically punked on both sides of the ball. And anybody who knows Wisconsin smash mouth football from back in the day saw something that was strange. It was called a whipping, which is to take nothing away from Maryland's performance, because we got to get into that, because I got to tell you something. The more and more you look for the young kid, Malik Washington, the quarterback, to slip up, have a banana peel moment, we haven't seen it yet. Now, granted, 4 games into the season, 3 games were against teams that were nowhere near the competition that you're going to face each and every week during the conference schedule for the balance of the season. But the big picture answer is that Maryland now has the talent to compete with the elite in the Big Ten. Now, what does that look like? I don't think there's Ohio State nor Penn State on the schedule, but you do have to run into Michigan. Washington's going to be a physical team as well. They're going to have to deal with Nebraska. So all that being said, this is just one conference game. But if you've been with us on Maryland Live throughout the course of the preseason, because I've said all along that the first 3 games of the regular season schedule for the Terps this year were nothing more than preseason games. I mean, that's what it was. And you know something? You do what great teams do when you come out of preseason. You work on your game plan and the execution of certain plays. Then you unveil the entire scheme, and that's what happened. I don't know what more you can ask for a very young team with basically a rookie starting quarterback going on the road and passing for over 250 yards. I mean, it's crazy. The Malik Washington experience is now what we can officially call it. So I'm going to trademark it. I'm going to hashtag it, and you better get along for the ride to enjoyment. Okay, you have to. It's going to be an experience as long as that young fella's healthy. He can do so much. I don't want to project and start the big head, but he does everything fairly well. He's a work in progress. This is the scary thing about him. Do you have him for a year? Because he's that good, but the the way his ball placement, number one, wasn't exactly spectacular today, but he was able to make plays when his team needed to make plays, and he did a good job of protecting the football. And when you're on the road for the first time in what can be a hostile environment for him to play such a mature game. And I think that's what I take away from Malik, more so the numbers. And we'll crunch the numbers a little bit later on in the contest. Don't forget, tell your friends we do this thing live, somewhat local, damn near late breaking on Fridays here on the Voice of College Football, uh, here on Maryland Live. So hit us up with what you think of what we're doing. We'd be glad to hear from you. We want you to join us. We want you to jump on the bandwagon because this one looks as promising as anything that I've seen. Now, there were, and here's, you want to talk about exercising demons. Okay, this is one of those moments where if you're a Terp fan, it's all right to brag a little bit, to feel good about this dub. You know why? Because you were 15-0 versus non-Big Ten teams since 2021. Be mindful of that. 15-0. So basically, softer scheduling led to success for the team. Well, okay. So they added to that dominance during this preseason. However, you know, when you look at what they were record-wise in the conference, it was nothing short of pathetic. Think about it. 12-24 since 2021 in your conference. You know, the homies you got to beat in order to do big things. So why this win is so important is you've exercised the demon. And if you ever know the quirks about college football, certainly conference games, there are sometimes teams in a conference who just have another team's number for whatever reason. It just happens, okay? And Maryland looks like they're going to exercise some of the demons this year because they're better athletically, pardon me, and they're also with Pep Hamilton's offensive acumen and the way that he knows how to break down film, the way that he knows how to put his quarterback in a position to make the right play, which oftentimes is the big play, is something that they haven't seen around here because Locke's had the coach. And I mean, when you call them plays and you got to manage the game, that's a bit of a struggle. And I think that what we saw in Madison, Wisconsin, as the Terps knocked off UWM, as they call it up there, 27-10. Terps now 1-0 in the Big Ten, and overall 4-0, and it's looking pretty good. So when you and see, the most impressive statistic of everything that people should be talking about right now has to be Maryland's defense. Okay, because last year, despite losing Billy Edwards, the quarterback, the defense was tragic. They could not get off the field on third down. It was the most frustrating thing to watch. Last year also, they gave up 31, basically 32 points per contest. And you're not going to win. So I don't know if I would look at Wisconsin's offense as anything prolific, but I know one thing, in the way the coaches are getting run right now, there may be a change at the helm after what happened this week. Now, again, big ups to Ted Monachino, the defensive coordinator, who's got that NFL experience, and he has some exotic blitz packages, and Maryland has the athletes to run them at a level that would make them look like a NFL style team in college football. They're quick. They know how to set the edges. They're really fast. Number one. Okay, let's be clear about that. When it comes to overall foot speed, um, I don't know if I've ever seen a defensive unit at Maryland with this kind of sideline to sideline speed across the board. I mean, they just get after it, and it was just a difficult afternoon all the way around for Wisconsin. and really it started. And this is when you know your team has something because Maryland dominated in all three facets of the game, and the game actually swung in the first quarter. There was a block punt. Um, Then we go to the second quarter, and coming right out of that, Malik Washington went to Knox for a 5-yard touchdown pass. And at that moment, I'm thinking to myself, wow, Maryland has something here, something that we aren't accustomed to seeing. And what it is seeing them with the better players, the better game plan, and better execution. And that's what this was about today. Anybody who tells you otherwise is well, they need to put down the bottle of moonshine, or better yet, just say no. Anyway, Maryland will win and a cover 27-10 over the uh, University of Wisconsin Badgers, who are not the Badgers of old. And it's ironic that they play in what is now Barry, excuse me, Barry Alvarez Stadium. God rest Barry Alvarez. Uh, but today was not any indication of the kind of football that Wisconsin is used to playing in Camp Randall Stadium. Now, again, I will say this: Maryland had a lot to do with that. When you're used to see an athlete from one program who has certain skills, Maryland has all world skills. Now, they may not have as many as, say, I don't know, Miami right now, because they're pretty deep all the way through. Notre Dame is ridiculously deep. I think LSU is incredibly deep. Just go up and down the SEC, but and the Big Ten. But this was the first time for me in about 5 years thinking to myself, wow, our athletes can match up with your athletes and game on. There was some significant disadvantages when you were going to places like Wisconsin and Iowa if you're a Terp fan, because you put yourself in position to win a game, and then in the fourth quarter, your team wears out. There's a fumble, there's a pick. You can't get that stop on the fourth quarter. I don't think that's the case with this team. I could be wrong. And again, this is just the first conference game, but the first three games, I don't know if think it would be safe to say I was diminishing in significance, but what I will say is I approached it like it was preseason. And you can't look at a regular season game through the prism of preseason. So we got the regular season test, and what we saw was, for it to be the first time with a primarily young team going on the road, and for them to play with this kind of poise, this kind of character. And believe you me, I'm sure those kids felt some kind of wrath. you know, I'm sure the people weren't necessarily welcoming them with open arms when they got to Camp Randall Stadium today. I've been in the Midwestern games. Okay, nobody ever waves with 5 fingers. They only use one, and you probably know what that one is. But they took that, and the thing here's when you know you are locked in. Okay, and it's not about the X's and O's in this moment. When you're in a hostile environment and the players engage the fans tastefully, of course, okay, and interact them, because Wisconsin fan talks trash. Maryland kids, confident and cocky, could have been a situation, but let's say players know players, players know players that got the game. So they knew when they saw Malik Washington, Daniel Wingate, they had heard about him. Pretty learned crew up there, right? They knew they were going to, see some stud players. And what do? You try to get in the studs' heads. And the kids weren't having it. And that's amazing to me, because we talking like freshmen. Freshmen in Maryland. What? Are you kidding me? We talking about Malik Washington is such a good player that they're going to try to find a way to get him on a primetime game down late in the season. If Maryland and Michigan becomes a game, uh, don't be shocked. You know, Big Ten Saturday night. Come on. I'm up for Big Ten Saturday night in College Park. Unless it conflicts with the travel schedule, I'm all in. But I would like to see that. And Maryland has superstar caliber players now. They have players that can be branded with a couple of more victories, and then you start changing the whole dynamics of the perception. Especially when you consider that they've already signed the number one defensive prospect uh, in high school football to play for the Terps next year. So today's win, barring catastrophic injuries and just a open implosion, seems to have started what could be and we got to get this hashtag out there, Malik Washington experience. Okay? Lock it in. That's going to be a big thing. All right. And for those of you who are new to being rabid college football fans, you basically, as they would say in the South, hit your giddy up to the star quarterback and you ride real well. All right, got one here now. So and athletic defense, and it was unfortunate that Billy Edwards was rendered useless by the savagery of the Maryland defense. And that was definitely one of those moments where you were like, wow, you wanted to see the fella go up against his former school, but the defense wasn't having it. And if you showed the show earlier this week in the pregame, uh, some of the comments that the kids were, because the question around these parts was all year or all week, what are you going to do against Billy Edwards? And you ask it in a variety of different ways. And Billy Edwards just been it was a subplot. For those y'all know, he was a former Maryland quarterback. He transferred. Um, it was just one of those situations where it just didn't work out for him. He followed Talia Tagovailoa, and those were very difficult shoes to fill. And sometimes you don't want to be the man to follow the man because those are big shoes to fill. Billy leaves. Here comes big shoes in his own right, and Malik Washington. And Malik Washington is, I mean, the maturity of his game management and the things that he brings to the table are just fascinating to me. Uh, Again, the ball placement is second to none. He seems to know how to make the right throw at the right time without putting the ball in harm's way. Now, I don't know if he's just getting lucky, and as the season will move forward, we're going to find out some things. But sometimes in a moment like this, you can see the elements that show you that a player is something greater than you ever thought. And he took full advantage of it. Today, 18 of 34 for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. The fact that in his first road game, Pep Hamilton had enough confidence that he would let Malik Washington throw 34 times speaks volumes, especially considering some of the time that was missed during camp when he was a little injured. Okay. DeJuan Williams, 15 carries, 62 tough yards. And that just set the tone for how Maryland had somewhat of a balanced attack. They're going to be driven by the spectacular nature of what Malik Washington does every game. But there will be shine for everybody. Like Shaleigh Knotts had that touchdown pass in the second quarter, which to me stole the momentum of the game. That was it. It was a wrap at that point. because Maryland had better foot speed. They were able to get open. They were unblockable defensively. Their front seven just put a beat down on Wisconsin all day. And we haven't been able to say that around here. As a matter of fact, normal times when they go to Madison, the beatdown was coming back the other way, but it didn't this time. You know, now again, I like to see him get a little bit more efficient at the end of the first half. I thought they really could have put that game on ice, but what they did was they gave Wisconsin hope with those two Sean O'Hare field goals. But a walk-off field goal gives you a certain amount of momentum, especially when you're pitching a shutout at the half. And from there, you had players like Shalik Knox stepping up. He had a 62-yard touchdown. Really? But again, Maryland was doing this stuff to teams that even yours truly said, well, it'll be a little different when they get to Wisconsin. And it wasn't. I'm talking guys basically running unabated in the secondary, receiving large touchdown passes. It's a fascinating thing to watch, how you can be so wrong and enjoy what you're watching. Absolutely crazy. Maryland put up 326 yards of total offense, with 265 of it coming in the air. I think it's going to need to be a little bit more balanced in that offensive attack. But when you're averaging over 5 yards per play, that says a lot about the efficiency. And to their credit, Wisconsin, they averaged just under 4 yards. So the benchmark is if you can average 3 yards, 3.5 yards per play, you should win the game, but not when you're giving up 6 yards on defense. Wisconsin got some problems. They have some holes. Okay. They do. This is not your mom's or your pop's physical, hard-nosed, tough, well-coached team that you've seen. I think Wisconsin may be a victim a little bit of that, nepotism that goes on sometimes. I mean, you got Luke Fickell, who used to coach at Ohio State, and you got Jim Tressel's kid, I think the defensive coordinator, and he used to coach at Ohio State. So, sometimes you bring all the old school elements in and the new generation, and they just don't have it like that. And to me, not taking anything away from Maryland, that's what Wisconsin looked. You're used to seeing a very disciplined, well-groomed game plan team. And I guess it's like Mike Tyson said back in the day. Everybody got a game plan until you get punched in the mouth. And Maryland did a good job for the first time in about 4 years going into a hostile Big Ten crowd. And again, I don't think that the Wisconsin fan was as big at 11 o'clock Central Time as it would have been at this game had been played at 7 o'clock when they could have had more brats, more brews, really got after it. But you can only play the schedule the way the schedule is played out, and that's what they did. I mean, you can say what you want about it. The fact that Malik Washington with his team on top, given the confidence to go deep, and then they connect on a play that had to have been on the tape that they'd been scouting, Wisconsin, that is, for the last couple of weeks in preparation for this game. There was, and again, there was nothing that was not on tape that Maryland ran that Wisconsin should not have been aware of. Didn't see any tweaks. Didn't see any. They just flat out executed better than they were actually doing against the teams, which were the lesser teams that were preparing them for this moment. It's crazy. And again, I'm not going to ring the bell and say college football playoffs, here we come. But this was a great start to their conference schedule. And when you're in what many people believe is the toughest conference in America, you want to stack as many wins as possible. You want to get your name just out there. And to the point about having guys like Malik Washington and Daniel Wingate who are already on postseason watch lists, it brings attention to the program. It gets you into prime time. It makes the program more marketable. And I think those two kids right there are bigger than just a football program right now. You can just see the way that they carry themselves on the field and the demeanor that they have, and just let's call it what it is, call it their swag. Um, that's the kind of playing personality that makes your program attractive. I remember some of the great programs, like I grew up watching the U, and you gravitated to that program because you felt like you could vibe with them. I think the same thing with me in this area growing up. Georgetown basketball fan. Yeah, nobody, but they, you can gravitate toward that. I think that Malik Washington, there's so many talented young players who could be there, but they're tremendously great players, and then there are those that have it. You don't know what it is, and you can't put it into words, but when you see it, you know it. When you see Malik Washington, you know you're seeing it. And when you see Daniel Wingate, you know, and he's it too. So those are great pillars to build around. And the scary part about it is, as Maryland was so dominant today, I don't even think we've seen the best of them. I think that there are places that they can get better at. I mean, they were only 4 of 14 for third downs. Now again, the defense held uh, Wisconsin to 3 of 17. So you got to get better at that. You know, 4 of 14 is definitely not going to get it done against Michigan and Washington, you know, when they have to really step up and play. And again, I came into the season respecting Wisconsin as one of the big boys, but if they don't get any better than where they were today, I mean, Maryland's offense averaged almost 6 yards per game per play. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Now, it's interesting to note. Now, I think if there are red flags, only 61 yards rushing. Uh, Maryland's got to find another 39 yards rushing every game this year. That takes the pressure off of Malik. It makes you respect the receivers a little more by backing off. I no, and believe it or not, this is a stress point as dominant as Maryland was. Okay, they were only 4 of 14 on third down efficient. They held Wisconsin to 3 of 17. Not exactly the answer to the test that you wanted, but it was the right answer in this case. So, and really, another interesting point as you take the deeper dive into the numbers, because if you were just to look at the statistics of this game, right, they would tell you a totally wrong story because Maryland only had 13 first downs. Wisconsin had 21. Can't make this stuff up. Okay. Uh, Maryland had 57 total plays in the game. Wisconsin had 77. Normally, if you're running 20 more plays than the opposition, you should be wearing their defense down. Okay. Maryland punted 8 times. Uh, and there were Maryland 4 penalties. I mean, a couple of them were bang bang calls. One of them was just a personal foul thing that is, well, sometimes you got to know when to legislate it, but when the rules say you got to call it, you got to call it. And the whole time of possession thing just continues to blow my mind. Maryland has football for almost 40 minutes on a team that is known for controlling the football. I don't want to sound like an apologist for Wisconsin, but when's the last time you've seen something like that? Wow. But that's where we are with it. 1-0 in the conference, 4-0 overall. And during the course of the week, when we go into the UMD vault, we'll find out a lot more in terms of statistics, which are absolutely incredible. I mean, it's just it's one thing to watch it develop. It's another thing to see it unfold. So it's good that Maryland has a bye week coming up. I'm thinking that, this is the moment where you kind of reset, rest up, get a lot of treatment so that you can make a run in the clutch. Because after Saturday's game, it will be safe to say that this team will no longer sneak up on anybody. Now, I don't know if they caught Wisconsin sleeping or this is a down year in Madison. But when you look at the performances of Washington, Knox, Wingate is just Wingate at this point in the season. um, this is the it looks like it's the culmination of what Mike Locksley was looking to put together, and it blended very well, at least on one day. Now, there's definitely still a lot of work to be done. I'd like to see him get a little bit more efficient because I don't think you can win averaging 2.7 yards with your rush game in the rest of the conference. But you do have big play capability and a strong defense that's going to keep you in games, and that's going to give you a chance to do some very, very special things. So Maryland does the damn thing on the road, y'all. 27-10, knocking off the Wisconsin Badgers. Terps 4-0 on the season. Badgers at 2-2. Don't forget, for all the news to fit to talk about around the world of Maryland football, you keep it locked right here on the Voice of College Football, Maryland Live. For my boy Charlie O, I'm Professor G. We'll see you as we recap again a 4-0 start by the Terrapins next week.